Dr. Mitra has arrived. Welcome, sir. Can we have a round of applause for Dr. Mitra, please? Can we have all our inaugural session speakers on the dais? Chief guest Dr. Amit Mitra, Honorable Principal Chief Advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal and Finance Department in Cabinet Minister rank, Government of West Bengal. So thank you. Mr. Sanjay Budhia, Managing Director, Patton International Limited. Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, Chairman, Obeetee and Managing Director, Luxmi. Dr. Harish C. Mehta, Ph.D., McMaster University, and Founder Chairman, Rising Asia Foundation, and Editor-in-Chief, Rising Asia Journal. Mr. Arnab Basu, President, BCC&I, and Advisory Leader, PricewaterhouseCoopers Private Limited. And Mr. Aniruddha Lahiri, former President of BCC&I and President of the Rising Asia Foundation, and also convener of the summit. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the inaugural panel. Thank you. This summit today is jointly presented by the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry and the Rising Asia Foundation. And we are privileged to welcome all our inaugural panelists, including the chief guest, Dr. Mitra. Without further ado, I would like to start the day's proceedings. And I would like to request our President, Mr. Arnab Basu, to kindly deliver the welcome address.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and the dignitaries on the dais. On behalf of the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, I take great pleasure and privilege in inviting you to today's program, which we have partnered with the Rising Asia Foundation. We will be deliberating today on the potential of Bengal, facilitating not only prospects of our country, but also on a collaborative growth on the countries in South and Southeast Asia. The potential of West Bengal economic corridors is now being recognized widely by the global funding bodies, focusing more on the economic growth centers like Shiliguri, Dankuni, Kolani, and along with other potential belts like Hon'ble, Panagarh, Kharagpur, Gwalior, Shalbani, Haldia, Tajpur, synergizing urban, industrial, logistics, skills, energy, and social sector can really become a game changer for us in the days to come. This will promote sub-regional economic activities, facilitate trade by removing critical capacity constraints, and improving transport efficiency. It has been reported that the ADB has collaborated with West Bengal also in the area of reliable and sustainable electricity distribution with a funding budget of $240 million US. West Bengal, with its forte on the Bay of Bengal, is a central pivot of sub-regional connectivity, which has been concurrent with the rise of the Indo-Pacific as an integrated geopolitical region. The Act East policy of India to link its eastern economic potentials to Southeast Asia has also brought the Bay of Bengal into an accelerated momentum. Sub-regional institutions like the Bay of Bengal Initiative for Multi-Sectoral Technical and Economic Cooperation are expected to also lend contributions in this space. The culturally rich state of West Bengal, a major powerhouse in India as per economic size, is also a driving player in the eastern region. The state's enabling policies, infrastructure development, and favorable business environment enhance its prospects for business growth. The recent policies and initiatives on electric vehicles, data centers, the new export policy 2023, among others, are key drivers. As for the logistics sector, reports say that Kolkata has close to 10 million square feet of grade A logistics developments, with more than 10 million expected to enter the market soon. The Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry feels it befitting to showcase the prospects of the state for building concerted ecosystem for prosperity of the connected regions within and outside India. Today, we would be having a lot of deliberations from great experts who have worked and made real forays in this. On behalf of the Chamber, as its president, it's my privilege and honor to welcome you all today. I hope it would be a great day of learning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would now like to invite Dr. Harish Mehta, who are our partners for this program, and to speak on behalf of the Rising Asia Foundation.
Good morning, everyone. Dr. Amit Mitra, Honorable Principal Chief Advisor to the Chief Minister of Bengal and the Finance Department, President BCCI, Mr. Arnab Basu, Rising Asia Foundation President, Mr. Aniruddha Lahiri, Chairman Obeetee and Managing Director Luxmi, Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, and MD Patton International Limited, Mr. Sanjay Budhia, and all speakers and audience members. Thank you for coming and a very warm welcome. I just want to take a few minutes to introduce Rising Asia Foundation and its various sub-brands. So the Rising Asia Foundation started about a little more than 4 years ago, and currently under the initiative of its president, Mr. Aniruddha Lahiri, is today staging, in collaboration with the Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, this event. So this summit allows both our non-profit organizations, the RAF and the BCC&I, to pool their strengths in order to explore an important topic to enable the community of writers, novelists, scholars, diplomats and businessmen and journalists who are here today to share a common platform. So what is this foundation? We publish the Rising Asia Journal, which is arguably the only one of its kind in existence, and let me explain why. This is because it occupies a little explored niche area of the Eastern world, straddling the northeast of India, Bengal and the eastern Indian coast and hinterland, and equally Southeast Asia, China, Japan, Taiwan and the Koreas. This territorial mix makes me think that there is no other journal that focuses on all these areas taken together in a multidisciplinary manner. So that is the key. And therefore, it covers these geographies through a scholarly brush that is at once spectacularly and ambitiously multidisciplinary, as I said, and multicultural. So we've achieved these goals to a great extent by publishing authors that are specialists in their fields and disciplines, whom you can find in our pages. One great example is the celebrated and greatly awarded novelist and professor Zulfikar Ghosh, whose fiction you might have read, who predates even Salman Rushdie as the great find of the 60s and 70s. So he wrote an exclusive article for Rising Asia Journal that was possibly his last piece of writing. The journal reaches readers in more than 100 countries, and it's produced by an editorial board of professors based in India, Singapore, Malaysia, Vietnam, Canada, and the United States. A highlight of this year was, to give you one example, one of our editorial board members, Tuan Huang, who is a professor at Pepperdine University, he guest edited a special issue on post-war music of the Vietnam War, which brings together music and war in a scholarly manner. In 2025, we plan to publish 2 more guest-edited special issues that help build community and broaden the journal's editorial scope and reach. I've spoken about the foundation very briefly, but one of our sub-brands is the Rising Asia Literary Circle, which is anchored and curated by Dr. Julie Banerjee Mehta, who's here, and she's kept a busy calendar this year, holding discussions with book discussion groups on the Canadian Nobel Prize-winning author Alice Munro and the French author Cécile Humani's short stories. The Circle, Literary Circle, launched the book Between Homelands in Michael Ondaatje's fiction at the Tollygunge Club and staged a live event focusing on 4 novelists in search of their mothers. These were Saikad Majumdar, Manish Oberoi, Gaikwad, Radhika Oberoi, and Cécile Humani, held at the ICCR in Calcutta. So the Literary Circle is extremely busy holding conferences on these topics. So besides the journal and the Literary Circle, the last point I want to bring to your attention is that we've regularly held the Distinguished Annual Foreign Policy Lecture, which was delivered first by the Indonesian ambassador Dinopati Jalal, who was the principal advisor to President Jokowi in the past in 2021. In 2022, it was delivered by the Cambodian Senior Minister Ieng Muli, and last year by Singapore Ambassador at Large Tommy Koh. So these high-profile events raise scholarly and general understanding of topics and issues relating to Southeast Asian countries, as well as the Association of Southeast Asian Countries. The journal and the foundation, being headquartered here, is run actually by an international board of editors and an advisory board that is also multinational in character. So I welcome you once again very warmly, and I bid you all to have the moderators plus the presenters a fruitful discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mehta. Now I would request Mr. Aniruddha Lahiri, former president of BCC&I and current president of the Rising Asia Foundation and also convener of the summit, to set the context.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I am here today to set the context for the upcoming discussions, which will be held over several sessions over the entire day. But before I begin, I would like to pay my respects to all the distinguished speakers, some of whom have not yet arrived, the knowledge gurus, the dignitaries, and members of the audience. Thank you for being a part of the inaugural edition of Rising Asia Foundation and BCCI Summit 2004. Now, ladies and gentlemen, let me first recap with you. It's just recapping because everybody knows how expansive this region is vast, and it encompasses the east and northeast states of West Bengal, Odisha, Bihar, Sikkim, and the seven sisters, Assam, Arunachal Pradesh, Nagaland, Manipur, Mizoram, Tripura, and Meghalaya. And these states, or this region, forms the connection for India with the Bay of Bengal rim countries going into the rest of Asia. Now, ladies and gentlemen, to harness the potential of the eastern and of course the northeastern region as a whole, with its vast resources and most importantly, strategic geolocation, the Look East policy was launched in the 1990s. And exactly 10 years ago, in 2014, the present government felt that the time was propitious to develop a more dynamic version of this policy, which is kind of an umbrella initiative that would encompass several dimensions, that is trade, investment, security, technology, and many other facets covering the eastern part of the world, and thus was born the Act East policy. Now, the evolving regional and global dynamics have necessitated the need to develop new ideas, new thoughts, and several such initiatives are being nurtured with the East as the point of focus. For instance, the Bay of Bengal, and you must, if you have not known, it is the largest bay in the world map, largest, has the potential to be a thriving economic space joining South Asia, Southeast Asia. The currently rather fragmented region economy could thus receive a major boost and emerge as a powerful macro region. So that's a new thought and new idea which needs to be developed. Now, towards this objective of developing the Bay, the Bengal Bay, the Bay of Bengal as a macro region, West Bengal is well positioned to become the pivot for all-round growth and development of Eastern India and beyond. As the rest of India hogs the headlines, West Bengal, amongst the states of India, has been silently stealing a march to emerge as one of the top 6 economies. With consumer base of 99 million and a strong per capita income, West Bengal boasts of a robust infrastructure. The Kolkata airport, the largest in the eastern region, moves over 2.5 million international travelers and handles 13 million tons of cargo. It is home to 2 of India's major ports. That's West Bengal. The Shama Prasad Mukherjee port, already handling record cargo of 66.4 million tons, is ranked 5th amongst the major ports of India. And Haldia port, with its vantage location, supports the hinterland of central, east and northeast India and has a clear advantage in international trade. It plays a pivotal role in developing the region's economy as it provides a crucial connection between the interiors of India and the global markets. Both ports, ladies and gentlemen, put together handles a combined cargo of 116 million tons. The state's well-developed network, I'm talking about road network, includes 15 state highways, multiple national highways, which seamlessly connect Bengal with the rest of India and play a vital role in the economic development, facilitating trade and supporting industries. West Bengal has emerged as a prominent warehousing and logistics hub, which was alluded to by our president, in the eastern region of India, and has witnessed a significant rise in warehouse and industrial space capacity. Besides the state's rich legacy of a strong manufacturing culture, which is now ripe for further development, the state is today a major IT and ITES hub with the state's IT exports valued at 3.3 billion rupees. In Kolkata alone, that is, not considering the environs of Kolkata and the outside regions of Bengal, outside Kolkata. And this industry, which I talked about, this IT and ITS industry, employs today 150,000 people. That's 150,000 people. It's not a small figure. The state is also a major agricultural hub and is the largest producer of rice, the second largest producer of potatoes and tea in India, and is a major exporter of agricultural and horticultural products today. And that's why I said that the others have been hogging the headlines, Bengal has been silently taking the state forward. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I think this would suffice to give you the backdrop to provide you the backdrop for today's discussions. Yeah. I therefore, without much ado, let me welcome you to the session, Bengal, the pivot of South and Southeast Asia, which is focused on the significance of Bengal as a fulcrum for the development of India's Act East policy. And who better, ladies and gentlemen, to kick off the discussions than Dr. Amit Mitra, Principal Chief Advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister and Finance Department in the rank of Cabinet Minister, Government of West Bengal. May I now invite Dr. Mitra, and following that, the two industry stalwarts of the East, Mr. Sanjay Budhia and Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, to share their thoughts. Thank you. Have a good day, and I hope you find it interesting and useful. Thank you.
Well, I'm delighted to be here. I'm very happy to have here with us Mr. Basu, the President of BCCI, Dr. Mehta, Mr. Lahiri, Mr. Budhia, and Mr. Chatterjee. Of course, I see a very rich program where intellectually very sophisticated people are going to speak today. I wish I were here to listen to them, and I would request the Director General to kindly send me this deliberation so that I can learn from this process. I see some very distinguished people, good friends here. Let me divide my submission into a few parts. First is Rising Asia. I still remember Kishore Mehbubani writing his book called Can Asians Think? Now from that he has come to a newer book, later book called that this hemisphere is bound to be the rising hemisphere in the world. Let me first ask you, what is the taking GDP in PPP terms? That is a measure that we normally use more accurately. GDP in PPP terms in current prices, what is Asia's contribution to the world? Purchasing power parity GDP. you'll be surprised to know that Asia is 48% of the world's GDP. USA is 14.99%. That's just to give you a perspective. And Europe is 21.70% after all of the countries put together. So Asia has already risen. Now the question is, how far will it rise further? Population-wise, Asia is more than 58% of the world's population. So again, we have risen. Now, it's also interesting that among the top 5 countries in the world today in terms of GDP, 3 happen to be from Asia. So you have China, ranked 2nd, Japan, ranked 4th, and India ranked 5th. And the IMF suggests that India could become the 4th largest by 25, 3rd largest by 27. That, of course, will depend on what policies we follow. In the world, India is the 3rd largest in terms of GDP purchasing power parity wise, by the way. 5th largest normally, but if you use purchasing power parity, we are the 3rd largest. Of course, China is the largest. So that's an oversense of Asia rising, which is your topic. I go to my second point, Bengal. But within Bengal, I want to, Mr. Lahiri has spoken in great detail on Bengal. So let me restrict myself to this zone. I am suggesting that south has been where the activity is. 31% of GDP in current prices. This is official data in India. The West is 22%. So that means you see an attraction towards South and the West. North is 16.74%. East is only 12.82%. East consists of Yongfu, Odisha, Bihar, Jharkhand, West Bengal. This is the official categorization of the East. It is my submission today that the pendulum or the clock is moving to the east. Why do I say that? It is a history of economies that certain kind of exhaustion takes place. Wages begin to rise when excess demand happens. Many other factors, for example, in the United States, North Carolina, where I studied, Duke University, there was a small place called Charlotte, North Carolina. It manufactured furniture. I think Mr. Chatterjee will know that. Today, it is one of the leading centers of financial sector, banking. How did that happen? North Carolina, deep south, there was an exhaustion factor there. There was an attraction there. Now, where is CNN located in? Georgia, Atlanta. Why? Why is Pepsi located there? So there's a movement, Coke. So there's a movement after a certain level of development elsewhere, because the comparative advantage of those areas begin to develop. So my first submission is, though the current numbers which I gave you don't look that good, East is where the process is going to turn in the next phase. That's what I call rising East. Within East, where is West Bengal? Number 1 rank. How much of GDP of the East? 44%, 44.33% of the GDP of the East, which in my view is going to be the place of tomorrow. I may not be there to see it, but the next generation will. 44% of the GDP is in West Bengal. Now, Odisha and Bihar, if you put together, 22% each. What about population? 31%, 31.64 to be precise, of the population of the East is Bengal. In other words, already Bengal has taken off within the East. So we see Asia rising. Within India, you see East rising, in my view. And within East, you see Bengal rising. That's the matrix that I see before me. Let me go to the next point. What makes somebody rise in this manner? I think the critical one is human capital. And I'll come to Bengal. Why Bengal is the pivot? In my view, it is the pivot for many reasons, but the key one is human capital. I was very delighted to see that 4 cities, 5 cities were ranked in terms of science cities. Who ranked this? The famous magazine called Nature, the publication called Nature. It's called the Nature's Index. Now, out of the which were these? Hyderabad, Central National Capital Region Delhi, Mumbai, Bengaluru, and Kolkata. In terms of science cities ranked by Nature, who comes first? What would you guess? I wouldn't have guessed so before the study came. It so happens that Kolkata is now considered the number 1 science city in India. It is ranked 84th in the world, overtaking Bengaluru, which has become now 85th. Interestingly, Mumbai is 98th. We are 84th in the world. Mumbai as a science city is 98th. New Delhi is 124, so New Delhi is nowhere close to this number. And interestingly, in Natural Sciences and Health Sciences journal, these are publications measured by publications in refereed journals. Kolkata has overtaken Edinburgh, Helsinki, Geneva, and Frankfurt. Now, we don't talk about this. Bengal, number 1 as a science city in India, having overtaken major cities that I have just mentioned. And the best example of that comes from a gentleman who left Bengaluru and came back to Kolkata. How Kolkata became India's scientific powerhouse. Interestingly, he was working at the Center for High Impact Neuroscience and Translational Application in Kolkata. Earlier, he was in National Center for Biological Sciences. And he was asked, why did you come back to Kolkata? Answer, Kolkata has the environment and strong educational foundation that produces a large number of good students. So this neuroscientist leaves Bengaluru to come back to Kolkata. Why? Because Kolkata is the number 1 science city in India. That is rising. Now let me give you a quick example. Yesterday, at the inauguration of Infosys, Honorable Chief Minister gave some very interesting numbers. Let me just supplement that for Bengal. Engineering seats. They were 33,000 in 2020. We added 11,000 seats since in the last 4 years. And today, we have, just to give you some example, central government colleges 1, state government engineering colleges 9, state government universities where engineering is taught 9, private engineering colleges 62, and private universities 7. That's what has happened. Now, under the university system, why Bengal is rising? I'm focusing on human capital. ITIs, Industrial Training Institutes. Do you know how many we have? 298. Do you know how many students study in ITIs? 47,280 students intake in ITIs. Polytechnics, 184 polytechnics with 38,000 intakes. Vocational training centers, 3,086 schools. With how many people study in vocational centers in West Bengal? 2,72,000. Did you know these figures? But nobody talks about them. Of course, when we became #1 science city in India, people started talking. But I'm going one step deeper. Every $1 you invest in human capital, the return added to GDP is $11.39. Do you know that? So investing in human capital is what West Bengal has done under Mamata Banerjee's leadership. We don't understand that. West Bengal has 62 medical and health science colleges. Medical colleges 35. And the seats, it's amazing. 4,553 MBBS seats in government institutions and 5,600 seats in private institutions. Today you have 10,000 medical seats in West Bengal. That's a part of the human capital. Human capital is knowledge, skill, and health. Now just to give you an example how just growth does not make it happen, just economic growth. Just an example, life expectancy of Bengal 72.3 years. What is it in Gujarat? 70. Yet Gujarat is highly developed in terms of people's perceptions. Let me give you another example. Infant mortality. What is it in Bengal? 22 per 1,000 live births. 22. What is it in Gujarat? Any guess? 31.2 out of 1,000 live births. So they have neglected human capital, basic health, which we have not done. Now you say, look, you've invested in social programs hugely. What about capital expenditure? That's a part of rising, Bengal rising. You'll be happy to know that capital expenditure during period of Mamata Banerjee's chief ministership rose by 16 times. It was 2,226 when we came to office. Now it is 35,866. So on one hand, you're investing in human capital. You have the Lokkhir Bhandar, you have Kannashri. Parallelly, you're investing in capital expenditure. People don't know this. It's walking on 2 feet. Invest in the human capital, put cash in the hands of the people to create excess demand, and parallelly you put money into capital expenditure. I won't bore you with more data. Social sector, 13.56 times increase during this period of this government. These are known to people. Agriculture, almost 13 times. Physical infrastructure, 6 times. So my submission on these is that West Bengal is walking on 2 feet. generate human capital, physical capital parallelly, which then of course leads to attracting industry. Why is all the major IT companies here, the only one that was not here, came here yesterday, an Honorable Chief Minister inaugurated their fantastic campus, 3.2 lakh square feet with 4,000 workers, the Infosys. So now the circle is complete. You have Wipro here, you have Cognizant here, you have TCS employing 54,000 people, they employ 20,000 more now with their campus coming up in Silicon Valley Hub. Cement hub. West Bengal is the cement hub of India. All 9 cement companies are here. Nobody speaks about that. Railway manufacturing hub. Do you know that the 3 companies which are giants in railway manufacturing, all in West Bengal, have order books probably in the tune of 40,000 crores, order books. They don't know how to cope with it. Any metro that you can think of, starting with Pune, is all being made here. But people don't talk about it. Wagons, of course, is always made here. Now you have metro coaches. IT hub, all of you know about that, I won't repeat it. The leather hub, I won't repeat it. Now you had coal bed methane, only state. You know what I'm looking at? Shale gas. US economy's energy mix changed completely due to shale gas. We have shale gas below the coal bed methane. That's the next frontier. It's happening. The policies are happening. You're speaking of GCC, Mr. Chatterjee, with the Honorable President. It'll happen. Why? You had a data policy. Nobody in the country at that time had a data center policy. So you have 11 data centers. Chief Minister gave the figures yesterday. Out of that, NTT of Japan almost completed its project. 3 American companies in the Silicon Valley hub. Did you know that? So I'm looking at shale gas, natural gas pipeline. You know what that would mean? That's already here, done by GAIL. It will mean city gas. When I was on, long time ago, in my last life, I was in the board of GAIL. We said we must go to China to create city gas. And 3 cities in China were first done by GAIL, believe it or not. And today it's in some 200 cities. So city gas. Ashoknagar, ONGC has found gas. And they are piping it to their IOC refinery, they will be. But they say there's much more than what they found. Actually, hypothecated quantities are much larger. That's a clean fuel that you're going to see. Let me submit to you what's the difference between Bengal, where rising, and the national policy. There's a difference. The national policy consisted of a model, cut corporate taxes. Very good. For what? For investments. Did it happen? The answer is no. Wrong policy. First you create demand. You work on that harder and investment will follow. Massive inequality. India today is one of the most unequal countries in the world. I think only South Africa is more unequal than us. Are we the most unequal country? Probably. So 1% of people own 40% of wealth. So what that does is, unlike Bengal, which is looking at human capital at the bottom of the pyramid, to raise them, to include them. So as the tide rises, all boats will rise. That's the bottom-up policy of Bengal. Unfortunately, the central government is still following top-down. And within top-down, you know how narrow that top-down is. Massive unemployment. in the aggregate level. What have we done? We've got into employment-intensive sectors. So you have 655 clusters of MSMEs in Bengal. 90 lakh MSMEs. Why? Because they are labor-intensive. You provide jobs. If you look at the data, you'll find our unemployment rate is 3% lower than India as a whole. Why? Conscious policy of Bengal rising, but rising in a different way. Investment, infrastructure. Huge investment in infrastructure. I don't want to bore you with this data. I'd conclude by saying, what is new that we have done? 905 new primary schools. That's where it starts from, the human capital. Over 6,000 upper primary, new. I'm talking about new that we've added. 747 secondary schools. And most interestingly, 2,096 higher secondary schools. That's where the bottom rises. These are all new. 52 new government colleges. 543 private colleges. 38 polytechnics, 19 state-aided universities, and 11 new private universities. So, result, Bengal, top 10 universities in India, 2 are from Bengal already. And I'm hoping that 2 more will enter. I've seen the data, that top 10. So, I'm unhappy that real wages have fallen at the all India level in agriculture. I'm unhappy that agriculture's annual growth rate was 4.5, it came down to 1.8. And we are not, as you know, getting the 100 days work money. But Bengal is rocking because its macro policy is right. So I would conclude, because my time is up, I'd conclude by saying, you got it, Bengal Chamber. I congratulate you, Bengal Chamber of Commerce and Industry, for picking a topic. It's very, very critical. Asia rising, yes. From there we come to Bengal rising. Quite a bit has been said by Mr. Lahiri, so I won't repeat it, of the regional aspect. Bengal rising in a different way than the national policy, which is bottom up, pull the bottom up. Let the tide go up and all boats will rise. I wish the all India policy would pay attention to that. And finally, we need to understand that developed countries grew. The production function consists of what? Normal labor. 2, capital. 3, technology added by solo. And 4, very important, is human capital. $1 spent produces $11 worth of GDP. West Bengal understood that. Mamata Banerjee government understood that. So I am hopeful, optimistic, that Bengal's rising. 44% of GDP in the East is Bengal. As we rise, others in the East will rise, and I can guarantee you, and I don't look at a crystal ball, but I guarantee you, yes, South is 1, West is 2, North is very close to us, but 3. East is where the next frontier is, with all the reasons that Mr. Lahiri gave us of the regional connectivities. So my conclusion is, ladies and gentlemen, this is a challenging time. You as a Chamber of Commerce, when you have somebody in ITI, adopt them. Connect them to employment. Connect them to placement. I was suggesting that to you, Mr. President. Pick a set of ITIs. I think some are doing it. And connect them by curriculum to job creation and placement, wherever they are not. Government, by the way, is moving in that direction. So my submission to you is, ladies and gentlemen, not only is Asia rising, not only is India as a whole rising, but Bengal is rising faster with a much sounder process of human capital as its foundation. That's why all IT companies have started moving here. Do you know what is the attrition rate of IT companies in Bengal? 3%. So you put human capital into people, they don't walk away. But you do that in Bangalore and Hyderabad, it's 35%. So within 1 or 2 years, they'll walk away. But in Bengal, they don't. It's one of the reasons why the IT companies are coming in large numbers. So thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm sorry I've overstepped my time. Thank you very much.
What a delightful speech that was, Benjamin. I'm sure that being in Bengal, you'll now feel enthused more than ever listening to Dr. Stating figures is one thing, but the interpretation of that is an altogether different thing. And so I think he's beautifully elucidated the point. And my takeout is that, for the development of the East, and when I say East, it transverses the borders, the east wind must blow. The east wind in Chinese is known as Dongfang. So that must blow. And I think what Dr. Mitra said, to me, it was clear that if that wind has to be generated in the east, the eastern part of the world, it can only be generated in Bengal. Thank you very much. Thank you again, Dr. Mitra. Thank you very much for coming. Now may I invite Mr. Budhia to make his presentation. And then after that, we will have Mr. Rudra.
Respected Dr. Amit Mitra, Honorable Principal Chief Advisor to the Honorable Chief Minister of West Bengal and Finance Department in Cabinet Minister rank, Government of West Bengal, Sri Arnab Basu, President of the Chamber, Sri Aniruddha Lahiri, and Dr. Harish Mehta, my friend Rudra, distinguished past presidents, committee members, ladies and gentlemen. It is my proud privilege to share the dais with Dr. Amit Mitra, and after his captivating address, I dare not dabble in facts and figures, sir. You have covered it all, you have summarized it all. And on a lighter note, this morning, when my wife was just asking me, where are you going? I said, there is a talk where Dr. Amit Mitra is the chief guest. She said in Hindi, Surya ke samne Deepak ko dikhana hai. So, sir, Dr. Mitra, who is the architect of policies here under the guidance of the Chief Minister, we have the pleasure of working with him. Before that, I would like to sincerely thank the iconic Bengal Chamber of Commerce for inviting me. I think Bengal Chamber of Commerce, with its rich heritage, now I think you will be completing 200 years in few years. Yeah. And Rising Asia Foundation, who are the joint organizers of the program. Dr. Mitra has talked about Rising Asia and rising India, and of course, closer to our heart, rising Bengal. I think Mr. Aniruddha Lahiri has talked about the strategic location and the advantages, what do we have here. I would not like to repeat into all that. I would speak from my experience as someone who is working in the state. I think that is what I carry this glass just to illustrate one example that, is it half full or half empty? And that is the problem that, the perception. What respected Dr. Mitra said that why don't we talk about the good things what we have? And all of us need to be our brand ambassadors. Somehow that is what the message I would like to say from industry. We are seeing the current geopolitical tensions. The world is looking at India. Manufacturing wants to be relocated. Sourcing needs to be relocated. And there cannot be a better opportunity than now. We have to act fast. And under that scenario, West Bengal, with its unique advantages, whether in terms of raw material, whether in terms of location, human capital, which we was talked about, we are uniquely positioned to grab that market share. Let me add with my personal experience in Patton, one of our product which is known or visible is the water tank, but that is very small percentage of our business. The majority of our business is electrical components, precision electrical components, which we manufacture and export from here, from West Bengal. We have about 3,500 direct workers and have never lost 1 hour in strike or lockout. Under Honorable Chief Minister's leadership, I think we have forgotten about, man days lost. Man days, there is no loss of man days here. I think the perception issue where Bengal lacks and for which we are responsible. I think all of us need to talk about the good things what we have. For industry, there are two issues which people talk about, land and labor. Labor, we said that it is not us. There are many, many industries here who have never lost and 1 hour strike or lockout, but people don't talk about it. Same for land. Very recently, Honorable Chief Minister has unlocked the land policy where now you get the freehold land. This is something which is very, very important. All of us in the Chamber of Commerce, we should spread the message that whatever leasehold land was there, that also has been allowed to make freehold. And that is a very, very major step. Now you can have your own land, government approved land, your own private land, and there is no question of any lease, because that is what industry looks for. In West Bengal, I think Mr. Lahiri or Mr. Basu talked about the exports and logistic policy. Honorable Chief Minister, she has taken a participative role where she has taken industry as co-partners and has formed a special task force. And in that, I think the timing of the summit could not have been better. We are talking in Bengal Chamber about Bengal rising, and I think Bengal Global Business Summit is just around the corner. So in Bengal Global Business Summit, Honorable Chief Minister has formed different sectoral committees where Chief Secretary, he is the chair, and one person from industry is the co-chair. Like Rudra is chairing one of the committee, and I have also been given the responsibility for chairing exports and logistics. So under the export, last year export policy and logistics policy was unveiled, where our target is to double our exports from current figure of 1 lakh crores from West Bengal. And West Bengal has everything what it needs to be the leader. I'm talking only about industry and manufacturing. Rest everything has been talked in detail by respected Dr. Mitra. And I would urge all industry friends to look at manufacturing in a big way. People want to relocate from China, to be very, very specific. And with the Trump tax or Trump terror, whatever the word you may call it, the advantage would be definitely for India. And under that advantage, how fast, the question is of the response time, because our neighboring competing countries, whether it is Thailand or Vietnam, they are our next competitors. And we need to see that how fast we can grab the market share. There is huge market in US, Canada, Mexico, which is ready to be grabbed. As I said, we are part of the global value chain of large giants like Asia Brown Weberry, Emerson's, which is not much known or talked about. And those companies, their catalogs are so huge, and they say how much you can do. It is the other way around. We don't have to go out to look for business. They have already given you so much to produce, and they say, what more can you do? So it is up to us how much can we do. This is what I would like to tell all my friends here from the industry, that there are huge opportunities. Please look at the positive side. Please look at the Bengal with the supportive government under the leadership of the Honorable Chief Minister, ably aided by Dr. Mitra and participating, I would say, the team of secretaries. It is just the question of the industry to come up. We need to set our negative perception, our negativity, forget the past, whatever happened. This is a new regime, there is new velocity, there is new decision making, and that is what Bengal is all about. Bengal is rising, we should all rise with Bengal. I would say Bengal beckons and Bengal means business. Let us come to Bengal, let us do business in Bengal. Thank you very much.
May I invite you, Mr. Rudra, to take the floor?
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Honorable Dr. Mitra, it's a pleasure to see you again. I can recognize stalwarts. Mr. Ghosh is sitting in the front row. There are many stalwarts in business that I recognize. It's a pleasure to be here to talk about this important subject, Rising Asia Foundation. It's the first time I'm speaking in your program. And it's my first time. I'd like to thank Bengal Chamber for inviting me. It's my first time to Bengal Chamber. And it's a chamber that was started in 1830s. And essentially did what any chamber should do, which is create and found industries. I'm part of the tea industry, as is some of you here, and basically the tea industry was created with the Indian Tea Association in the Bengal Chamber. The railway industry was created in Bengal Chamber in 1850s. The Calcutta port was developed in Bengal Chamber. So essentially created what Indian industry today benefits from. And in 1860, the first Indian budget was read after discussion with James Finlay, Andrew Yule, Prince Dwarakanath Thakur, and many other stalwarts in those days. The first budget was read by James Wilson, who's the founder of the Economist magazine in Calcutta. So the fact that we are talking today at a time of global flux on a pleasant winter morning in Kolkata, I think the location is perfect, and I'm glad to be part of it. Even before Donald Trump was elected, it was the economy in the world with multiple wars, with energy prices, with logistics being hit. All of you who are in exports, Mr. Budhia, have noticed doubling of freight cost last year. Significant, probably the fastest growth of capital cost in the world. Mr. Ghosh can say in the last couple of years that the interest rates were steeply, the post-COVID rise of cost of capital was huge. The inflation that brought in, I think, is the main cause for most of the governments around the world toppling. Whether it was in North America or in Europe or in UK, in Germany, the inflation that came with it. So we are in a, and now, it will only be, revved up with Donald Trump. Even before he's become president, he's talking about shutting down the US government, right? So we have to really think through where is the global context and where is east of India, as Dr. Mitra said so eloquently. I have always benefited from you, sir, hearing about the economic thoughts and putting practical, thoughts. And with a free market, he talked about social spending in a free market setting. Not going back to socialism, but in a free market setting, how to create business conditions which work, and there is nobody like Dr. Mitra, who has both the heart of social spending and the mind of a free market thinker for years, even before he joined government. Where does Bengal come into this flux, and how do we think through it? So let us baseline ourselves. Where are we? As Dr. Mitra said, it's a 100 million population. If you add the Northeast, I'm trying to look a little bit to the Northeast because we have the Northeastern region, and I come from the tea industry. I think more on the Northeast is another 50 million people. And Mr. Banerjee is here. He can speak much better about that. But 50 million people, 150 million people. West Bengal has a $250 billion, I'll speak in dollars because we are going to compare globally, $250 billion economy. So that's a $2,500 nominal per capita income, which is a strong income growing nominally at more than 10%. And India, Northeastern India plus Bengal is a $400 billion segment. Now you compare it to Southeast Asia, countries like Vietnam is that size, that population, but slower growth. The China plus one has accentuated growth in other Southeast Asian countries other than China, but none of them are growing at the rate of India. So now, this is the environment, and what is driving this GDP? Now, the one question is, Mr. Budhia was mentioning, and it has often been said that the perception should be of being a good investor-friendly state should be created by business people. Business people do not do that. Business people want barriers to entry. The basis of business is barriers to entry. So if you're going to ask business people, do you want me to come and compete with you in your business? I don't think business people are likely to tell you. But go through the companies in Eastern region and do a little bit of research. Maybe PwC will help you or Bengal Chamber will help you to find what is the ROI of those companies. I can see some of the sponsors here, Unilever. Obviously, that's a national company, so I'll leave that out. But Berger, significant in Eastern region. I'm sure, senior members of Berger. ROI, correct me if I'm wrong, is 25% plus. Imami, mostly in Eastern India, 25% plus. ITC, national, but significantly in Eastern India, 25% plus. This is a return on investments. I have spoken privately to many other businesses. What is the ROI in Eastern region? You can say that the ROI is partly because the cost of capital is lower, cost of labor is lower, cost of land is lower, cost of logistics because of this densely populated region is lower. I do not know what is causing a high ROI. It doesn't matter. Whether it's coming through higher prices or lower cost, what the business person cares about is what is the ROI and how much more than the cost of capital is it. And that is what a banker would care about. And Mr. Ghosh is one of the biggest banks in Eastern region. He can tell you, how many of his businesses, how many of his lenders are doing well, and how many of them are paying back. I think he has the least amount of delinquency in all of India. Yes. Yes.
40% of the lending to small and medium enterprises, 40% of the lending to small and medium enterprises by banks, which is 1.5 lakh crores this year, 40% is from his bank.
Tremendous. Tremendous, and
Round up.
And most of those, I think more than 95% or 97% of that money is getting returned. There's no NPA. So you're talking in an environment where individual businesses are probably making money. You can look at your businesses. I'll talk a little bit about our businesses, but that is all you need to know to be an investor. You do not have to go and ask in a business summit or anyone else how much money are they making. What you need to know is look at the ROI. If FMCG is making money, real estate is making money. You can go through different real estate companies and see the number of apartments that are coming up and at what prices. Whether that is something attractive to you or not is your personal business decision. Now, in the context of India, I'll just add one thing. With Asia rising, this was a comment which used to mean essentially China rising with some of other countries of Asia. But it's no longer that anymore. Asia rising is not China rising anymore. So for example, when if $500 billion were put in by funds, pension funds, private equity companies, it was standard that 50% of it would go to China, if not more. India would receive 5 to 10% of it. So that's $50 billion, $25 billion to $50 billion. Talk to banks, Mr. Ghosh can tell you, but many other banks who are investing into international funds. A lot of the money at this point might be going back to United States, thinking of what Donald Trump would do and cost, but the amount of money that is coming to Asia, they are looking at India first. There are venture capital funds and private equity funds that are only focused on India with significant amount of deployment. You would meet, the largest global funds. Every year they are launching new funds. And those funds are coming into India. Where will it come? Where the ROI is highest. So if you find a sector where the ROI is more than 25%, and there's a dense population concentration, which especially what is called the affluent India segment, which is more than $10,000 of consumption per year, which is growing even more than 14%, which has exacerbated some of the challenges that Dr. Mitra mentioned, but as a business people, that's your customer as well. You just go through and see where are the opportunities. I'll spend a couple of minutes to talk about my own business and recognize some of those opportunities. So Obeetee, a company that we run making carpets, but also now furniture, has been a pure play B2B company for the last 100 years. 5 years ago, maybe not even 5 years ago, 4 years ago, we started retail. It was during COVID. We now have 6 stores, including one in Chorungi, if you wish to visit. We opened these stores wondering what will be the response from India. So we are manufacturing carpets. Now we are retailing carpets. In terms of ROI, the highest revenue comes from our Delhi store. The highest ROI comes from a 1,000 square foot store in Chorungi. The carpets used to be made in UP, in Haryana, in Panipat for the cheaper carpets, Rajasthan. Thanks to a lot of intervention from Dr. Mitra and the West Bengal government, Malda has been created as a carpet cluster. Any company can participate. Obeetee is participating, giving designs, making sure manufacturing is being looked at. And Malda has a huge advantage, which no other part of India has. In each of your business, you will find some idiosyncratic advantages. For us, Malda can do something which is a Nepalese weave, which is made in the Tibetan weave, which UP and Rajasthan does the Persian weave. So we are actually doing a different kind of carpet which is not competing with UP or Rajasthan. So we are adding a business which is more competing with China. You were asking Mr. Mr. Roy, what was the Chinese carpets? That's a different kind of weave. It's a different. So that is being made in Malda, being sold in India and being exported. In fact, some of our customers and some of the major buyers will be visiting Bengal Summit. They've already visited Malda and seen the growth of that business. Coming to tea, and I'll just specifically talk about Makai, and it has some lessons for other tea estates. Tea as an industry, as I said, conceived in Bengal Chamber, needs to be reconceived. And it cannot be conceived only as a plantation industry. It has to be conceived as a consumer good. And consumer good means getting the tea in the final form to the customer as they wish to have it. So you might have seen the Makai stores in Kolkata Airport. We have one in Varanasi Airport, one in Pune Airport. Wherever we are getting spaces, we've created something called a Makai Bungalow, which is a concept in Taj Bengal, which talks about the whole ethos of tea drinking with with teaware and inspired by old, Bengal, crockery and silverware. So if you visit, the theme is these industries have to be reconceived. What Makai is trying to do is, for example, make tea available in hotels, make tea available in packaging, make tea available in bottles. So we have tied up with Coca-Cola to make iced tea, which is now available on quick commerce, but going to be launched in physical stores. And most importantly, the tea estates as places for tourism. There's a Taj Hotel in Makaiberry, some of you might have visited. Our bungalow is now a commercial establishment. I tried to go there a couple of times, it was full. It is something where people can actually go and enjoy it as a tourist destination. And it's not only at the top end, but many of the workers' houses with the homestay policy has one additional room which is 100% full. Some of those people are people who work in Taj, some of those people are trekkers who are looking to stay for 1,000 rupees. But the 1,000 rupee goes to the worker directly. His cost might be 200 rupees or 250 rupees. That is a 750 rupees with a 300 plus occupancy, 300 days in a year occupancy. So these are the kind of things, how to find specific opportunities for businesses and, take advantage of the opportunities within India. Thank you very much.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are coming to the end of the inaugural session. Sanjay, first of all, thanks to you. Made a very inspiring speech. And your advice to the industry is well taken. And Rudra, marvelous insights. And especially when you talked about what industry likes, I think that's not often seen, So thanks to both of you for your most, amazing insights. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much. Thank all of our distinguished speakers, including our chief guest, for their enlightening addresses. With that, we conclude the inaugural session of the Rising Asia-BCC&I Summit 2024. We have a pleasant task to perform now. I would request our president, Mr. Arnab Basu, to kindly present a memento to our chief guest, Dr. Mitra. Can we have a good round of applause, please? Next, I request Dr. Harish Mehta to present a memento to Mr. Rudra Chatterjee, please. Mr. Chatterjee. Your memento, Mr. Chatterjee. Sir, could you face the camera, please? Dr. Mehta, could you please face the camera, please? Once. Yeah. 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 And can I request Mr. Aniruddha Lahiri to present a memento to Mr. Sanjay Budhia? Thank you. We can have a joint photograph of the inaugural panel together, and thus we conclude the inaugural panel. Sir, joint photograph. Yes. Thank you all for being here today.